Welcome to the Be About Being Better podcast, where we help people make evidence-based, sustainable, small changes for their health that compound into huge shifts towards a better, more vibrant life. I'm your host, Abby Stasier, a health and life coach, future registered dietitian, a master's graduate from Columbia University, and a certified intuitive eating counselor. And I believe that we can't make lasting or meaningful change single-handedly. So I'm so happy that you're here so that together you can see that a diet-free, sustainable lifestyle is possible, and you can leverage that to live a better life. And remember my disclaimer, this podcast is meant to give you general information and is not meant to substitute or replace medical advice, a diagnosis, or service treatment. Hello, y'all. We are back for another episode of the Be About Being Better podcast. And I'm really excited about this episode because this is something that y'all need to hear. 100%. There is a difference between consistency and perfection. And I knew I needed to do an episode on this because I was talking with one of my private clients this week. And I said this to her on a coaching call. I was like, girl, you just got to focus on being consistent. Don't worry about being perfect. And she was like, well, isn't that the same thing? Like if I'm being perfect, if I'm being consistent, then that means I'm being perfect and I'm checking all the boxes and doing it. And I was like, oh no, honey. I was like, that was in that moment. I was like, oh, we have so much work to do. There's so much to talk about. We're out of time for today, but next week, I was like, we got some stuff to talk about. So I knew I needed to make an episode on this because I'm sure so many people are conflating these two terms and using these terms interchangeably. And I think by now we kind of know that being a perfectionist, it can be very hindering and something that we want to work on. And it's not always the healthiest. And what we want is to be consistent. And it's like, wait, once I get consistent, then, everything will come together. However, a lot of people don't know what consistency, especially in a healthy lifestyle, actually looks like and assume that we're one day, eventually, once we do enough stuff, go through enough things or have enough willpower, have enough discipline, have enough self-control, get the right plan, then we will be consistent. And a lot of people think that consistency looks like what we think perfection is, and eventually we'll get there. And this is just not the case. And I want to give you a common analogy that I give to most clients. Perfection is when we are checking every single box, doing all of the things for our health, firing at all cylinders, and just doing all of the things. Or we're doing absolutely nothing, because if we can't do things perfectly, then it's not worth it to do anything at all. So the analogy that I normally give to my clients is that perfectionism, being in a kind of perfect mindset with our healthy habits, is kind of like being at a red light. Either it's green means go. We're flying through that intersection. We're putting the foot on the gas and we're doing all of the things. All the things, checking all the boxes. Nutrition is optimized, doing all the workouts. We're thriving, we're journaling, we're getting up, we're drinking our water. Like we're literally doing all the things. Green means go, we're going. And when we can't keep up with that, when we don't have time to go to the gym for an hour, then we say, well, it's not worth it for me to work out at all. Guess I can't do anything today. Oh, didn't have a chance to go grocery shopping on Sunday, so I guess I won't meal prep for the whole week. I guess there's nothing that I can do. So I'm just going to do nothing. So it's like, hey, we get to the intersection. It's red. We need to completely stop the car. So being in this perfectionist mindset with our healthy habits are like, either it's a green light and we're going, or we're completely stopped and we're at a red light. It's a very all or nothing, black and white type of mentality to be in. And this is where a lot of you are stuck right now, in this all or nothing. If we can't do everything, then it's not worth it to me. In contrast to this, being consistent with a healthy lifestyle is like you're driving through a school zone. And think about when you're actually driving through a school zone, you're still driving, you're still moving forward, you're still making progress towards your destination. but you're driving slower, meaning that we're not firing at all cylinders. We're not doing everything for our health all the time and giving, all of our energy and attention and all of our priority to all of the things for our health. It's like there's other things that we have to prioritize. And it's impossible to do all of the things all of the time. But you are always doing something for your health. When previously, if you were in a perfectionist mindset, you would be doing nothing. And it's that doing of something or one thing for your health that keeps you progressing forward and gets you to the destination, keeps you progressing forward on your health journey. So that's what the difference is. And you might be thinking, well, I don't want to be going at a snail's pace. Like, if this is the difference between the tortoise and the hare, like, I'm just the type of person that's go, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. I'm a high achiever. I got a lot of things on my plate. I'm really busy. I got kids I got to worry about. Like, I have a lot to balance on my plate. I have to be moving at a faster pace, or I got goals to hit. I got ambitions. So I can't afford to be moving at a snail's pace. Well, what I will tell you, you can't afford not to be moving at a snail's pace, because if you're, firing at all cylinders and you're trying to be the hare to win the race, I tell you, you will burn out. You will hit a wall and it's not going to be good. And you will end up then doing nothing for your health. Like, if you don't slow yourself down, eventually your life is going to force you to slow down. You're either going to get sick, you're going to get burnt out, be stressed out, you're going to have a mental breakdown. Something's going to happen. And you're going to end up doing nothing for your health because you just physically can't. And that time of doing nothing for your health is going to set you further back with your healthy habits than if you were just slow and steady, winning the race and doing something versus trying to do everything. Because when we try and do everything, we then end up doing nothing when we can't sustain that. And that starting and stopping is actually getting us to our destination slower, and it can actually prevent us from getting to the destination at all. So it's much better to be going through life, practicing our healthy habits, approaching our healthy lifestyle with a consistency mindset. And that means that we are like driving through the school zone and still making progress and still consistently moving forward by consistently taking action. And when we consistently take action, that means that we do something rather than nothing. We choose one thing when we previously would choose nothing. And this works because that means that we're able to follow through. We're still checking one box. Even if we can't check everything, we still check one box. And that consistency of doing one thing and showing up consistently when you would previously do nothing, that builds momentum. So you start building trust with yourself back. It's like, okay, I can follow through when times are hard. I can follow through when times are busy. I can follow through even if I'm sick or doing something. And I can still show up for myself in some way when I'm going through a hard time. So that builds momentum, and then you're able to have a threshold to do more, and that can keep you going through a hard time. So we as we advance in a healthy lifestyle, in approaching it with this mindset, it takes time, but you then start to discern, okay, depending on the season of life that I'm in, what is that one thing that I can choose to do? Is it meditation? Is it exercise? Is it nutrition? Is it prioritizing sleep or our water intake? You will start to discern, okay, what do I need in this moment? What do I need to prioritize in this season of life? What's going to make me feel the most grounded? What's going to relieve my stress the most? What's going to be if I can only do one thing for my health, what's that one thing that's going to be the most effective? That's what you need to prioritize on the days where we can't do everything for our health, because it's impossible to do everything for our health all the time. But when you only have the opportunity to do one thing, what's that one thing that's going to be the most effective for you? That's what you need to focus on. And whenever you catch yourself saying, I don't have time to go to the gym because I don't have time for an hour-long workout, so it's not worth it for me to do any type of exercise. I want that to be like a light bulb moment for yourself. Like, oh, okay, That's a perfectionist mindset. I can actually do something, not nothing. So what's a different form of exercise that I do have time for? That I can easily do. So if it's not going to the gym, can I do an at-home workout? If I can't go to the gym for an hour, could I go for 10 minutes? Could I go for 20 minutes? Could I go for a walk around my work building during my lunch break? Could I take my dog for a longer walk in the evening when I get home? Could I do a 5-minute yoga video? There are so many different things that, we can do. So we need to stop pigeonholing ourselves into I can only do something for my health if it looks like this and if the conditions are perfect, because we're going to be starting and stopping our health, and you're going to prevent yourself from making any sort of real progress, and you're going to zoom out 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now, and realize that you're in the same place or even in a worse place than where you were. So we need to keep you progressing. We need to be about being better. And the way that we do that is through leaning on consistency, not perfection, and starting to see consistency differently. Consistency does not look like what how we view perfection. Consistency is doing something rather than nothing, driving through that school zone. And just because you may be moving at a slower pace doesn't mean that you're not progressing, because that consistency is compounding and helping to build more momentum. And then when you zoom out, when your habits are like that, you realize you're like, "Oh wow, I'm exponentially doing a lot better. My life is progressing." Like, it might feel slower day to day, but when you zoom out, you're like, wow, I've grown so much in the last 6 months. Wow, look at where I was a year ago. It's incredible how much growth I've been able to experience by doing a little bit each day versus going super hard for 2 weeks and then burning yourself out. If you want to know about how to get out of perfectionism, and if you really are in this all or nothing mindset, you need to go back and listen for the first time if you haven't listened to my interview with Nicole Baker, Life Coach Baker, because she dives into how to let go of perfectionism, how to know which type of perfectionist you are, and then what's the remedy for that. So that was a really good episode. I'll link it up in the show notes so it's easy for y'all to get to that episode. But that would be my next step for you. If you know that you struggle with this, maybe you've heard me say, oh, something's better than nothing before, but you're like, yeah, that's good. But how do I take that into the next action step? Listen to that episode with Nicole Baker. And in the show notes of that episode, she has given us discounts on 2 of her courses. One's 30% off, one's 50% off. So she's got some discounts just for our Be About Being Better listeners. Like, she, an incredible guest on the show and very generous. So after that episode, if you want even more action stuff like that, I would suggest leaning into to her resources as well if you really struggle with these things, and or getting some personalized coaching support from me from a healthy habits standpoint, taking our quiz, seeing which one of our health coaching programs could be for you. And we still got spots left for our June class, the Be About Being Better Academy. So definitely read more about that in the show notes or take our quiz to see if that program is for you. And then as far as perfectionism goes, listening to Nicole's episode and looking at those show notes at the discounts on her courses, I think that would be really, really helpful for y'all. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being open to seeing perfectionism and consistency differently and realizing that these two things are different, and it is possible for you to be consistent. But it's only possible if we let go of these expectations to be perfect. I'll see y'all in the next episode. Hey, y'all. Thanks again for listening to the Be About Being Better podcast. I so appreciate you. If this episode made you laugh, smile, think about yourself or your life differently, in any way making your life better, I empower you to share the show with 3 people who, just like you, need to hear this message and have this type of transformation in their lives. I personally read all the reviews of the show and see the Instagram story shares, and it honestly gives me so much joy to see that our mission is making people's lives better. And the reviews really do help in increasing our impact. So thank you so much for taking the time to do that. If you need personalized support with anything discussed in today's episode or need help creating a sustainable, diet-free lifestyle, take my quiz. It's linked below in the show notes, and that quiz will help you see which one of our coaching programs is right for you. Thank you so much again for listening, and here's to being about being better.